Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast today. These podcasts are brought to you in part by our sponsors who really truly are what make these podcasts possible every week. O'Fallon Nutrition is a company that I've worked with for over 15 years. They're independently owned and operated, located here in O'Fallon, Missouri, right off of Highway K and Mexico Road. I call this place the Whole Foods of St. Charles County, but even if you are not located on this side of the river, it is still worth the drive. I can remember working all the way down at Powerhouse and still sending people out to O'Fallon Nutrition for their supplements. They are more than a supplement company. You can get grass-fed beef, salad dressing, seasoning for your cooking, hair care products, makeup, deodorant, toothpaste, essential oils, and all the vitamins and minerals that you can think of. If you're looking for clean, whole food nutrition, as well as home care, house care, skincare products, O'Fallon Nutrition is your place. You can take a look at them at o'fallonnutrition.com, or if you'd like to have something shipped, if you're listening to me from outside of St. Louis, you can certainly have items shipped. I know they do free shipping if it's an order over $50, and the phone number is 636-240-5283. Again, it's o'fallonnutrition.com. As well as if preparing your food on a weekly basis is your primary excuse for why you're not able to stay on a good, clean eating program, which is something that I hear very regularly from my clients, I would ask you to please take the time to check out Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com. They are a phenomenal place. We get our food from there during the week. They deliver to our Integrity location. They will deliver to your house. They also are just available for pickup. You can go to their Chesterfield location or their Kirkwood location and just pick up meals for the day, as well as just having them delivered right to your door. So if preparing your food is your main excuse for why you cannot stay on a healthy eating program, then I would suggest just stop by Pure Plates. Just try it. If you're trying to lower your blood pressure, you're trying to lower your cholesterol, you're trying to get your blood sugar down, try to do Pure Plates meals for a week and just see how different you feel. These are organic meals. They are gluten-free. If you need them to be, they can be dairy-free. They are soy-free. You're not taking any processed sugars or meat-curing agents or preservatives. They really, truly believe in nutrient-dense meals that are just whole food nutrition. And I've had my clients, or I've made recommendations for my clients for years at Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com, or you can call them to ask questions at 636-778-3555. Again, remembering that they have a location in Chesterfield as well as in Kirkwood that you can just run by and pick up a meal today. Everyone always asks me where I get my meat from, and given that I really eat meat on a daily basis, typically beef primarily, my meat is very important to me. I have an autoimmune condition and I want grain-free, corn-free meat, and I just haven't found the confidence in stores in knowing that I'm getting 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And I have searched and searched and searched for the right farm, and I have found the farm. It's fedfromthefarm.com, fed, F-E-D, from thefarm.com. These farmers are amazing. It's a family. They're here in Missouri, and they have the desire, just like I do, to see people well and to see people healthy, and they put a lot into what they do. It's such a wonderful family to support. They do offer 100% grass-finished, grass-fed, meaning that's it. A beef, and I get my ribeyes, I get my ground beef, my ground sirloin, I get my chuck roast. I mean, they basically have everything. They even have awesome jerky, but they also have eggs, they have chickens, and they have turkey. I'm planning on getting a turkey for Thanksgiving, and if you'd like lamb, they have that as well. But if you are in need of good quality grass-fed, grass-finished beef, or quality eggs, chicken, turkey, don't just settle for what you're getting at the local store. to go out on the internet and check out Fed from the Farm. That you can arrange a pickup or you can have it delivered to your home. And I can guarantee you're going to taste the difference. For me, my health actually depends on it. So I really thank God to have found such a great farmer. Fedfromthefarm.com. I hope it blesses you.
Welcome to Faith, Fuel, and Fitness, the Integrity Way, with your hosts, John and Debbie Morris from Integrity Training Systems.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. Always like to start our show by talking about what it means to be a warrior. And the Webster Dictionary explanation of what it means to be a warrior is a brave or experienced soldier or fighter. If you've never listened to us before, I give the definition every time we start the show because I think it's important for people to understand that they are a warrior. A lot of people don't think that they are. They're not capable of combating whatever it is they may be dealing with. They may think they're too weak. They might think it's too hard. But the definition does say a brave or experienced. And I'm going to break that down. You may not be brave. You might not think you can take it on. But if you've taken anything on in your life, then you are experienced. Soldier or fighter, you might not be a soldier. Maybe you've never been in the military, but if you've had to fight through anything in life, again, you are an experienced fighter, and that makes you a warrior. So we like to explain that before we talk about some things that we know people are overcoming in their day-to-day, whether it be Debbie and I personally, maybe it's clients we deal with, friends, family members, stories we've heard, just to kind of let you know that you're not alone. And not only are you not alone in it, but there are people that have overcome more likely than not what you're dealing with at this time. And it's not to diminish what you're dealing with, but it's to just give you hope that you may be able to overcome quicker than you think what you're going through. And I want to give a really simple example of something about that, about the diminishment. And that is, I was talking to a client of mine here recently about their family member and dealing with things in high school. And I remember when I would deal with things in elementary, middle, and high school, I can't give you specifics, but I remember my parents saying, there's going to come a time in your life, none of this matters. Like, this doesn't matter. Don't get hung up on it. It doesn't matter. And I don't think that's a great way to approach that, because at that time, it really does matter. And so what you're telling that person is like, what you're in doesn't matter. And sometimes I can almost make you feel like, okay, well, it's kind of the biggest thing I've ever taken on. I think a better approach to that is to explain to someone like, look, I totally understand you're going through something and it's really hard on you right now. And I want to help you to be able to navigate and get through this so that in the future, you feel better equipped to take on the things that are going to come at you, because things will continue to come at you. And you need to be able to just be equipped to take those on as you move later into life and grander things come along. Because if you diminish something or you tell someone like, yeah, I know you're sad that you have a common cold and you don't feel good, but there's people with cancer. Sometimes that doesn't give someone that oh, you know what? I really am okay. There's a time for that tough concept. There's a time for, finding the ability to be take a breath and say, okay, it could be worse. That is a good thing to consider, but you also don't want to discredit what you are going through. You want to make sure that you attack it and you say, okay, this is a serious deal, but it is something that I can overcome.
I was listening to a meeting the other day, and one of the quotes that I heard was, audit your every action. And that really resonated with me, because I've always been the type of person that would go home and say, could I have dressed differently? Could I have looked a little bit better? Could I have presented myself friendlier? Could I have smiled more? Could I have given more to the people that I was with today? Even in sessions with clients, I'll say to myself, if you were this client, how would you feel with this meeting right now, with what you're giving? And so auditing your actions. With our daughter, we've always paid, I especially have always paid attention to really small details with her. How we would organize her room, protocol for the morning at a very young age, teaching her, get up, make your bed first thing. That's the first thing you do. You get up, you make your bed. Don't go downstairs. Don't go anywhere else. Make your bed first. Then it's done for the day. Go into the bathroom. Brush your teeth. That way you never forget to brush your teeth. Make sure that's done. Put your deodorant on that minute, because we had a series of months where we were forgetting to put deodorant on. And just creating this pattern of details that made it to where it created a very disciplined habit in her. Because of the years of working those small details, when we would get a bigger situation, she took the bigger situation on in a better way, and she was very detailed about it. And so we created that in her through repetition, constantly making sure that she paid attention to what she was eating, paid attention to how she dressed for the day, paid attention to how she brushed her hair and taking care of herself and putting earrings on and matching her purse to her outfit and just taking care of all the details. That's kind of sounds like trivial things, but if we all, took the time to pay attention to those little things, we would be stronger in the bigger things. And I feel like that can be a battle some days, and it does actually take the strength of a warrior to almost endure some of those things, that you're just in such a rush and you need to get to this place and you need to, you need to get this job done and you need to get to this next thing. But you really probably also need to be smiling while you're doing it, taking the time to make a phone call, responding in a thorough manner in an email instead of being short and quick, taking the time to say thank you very much for all that you do. I appreciate you, instead of just yes or no answers. It may sound like a kind of a minimal way of being a warrior, but battling through those small details on a regular basis can really make or break the presentation that you give for yourself, for your company, for the Lord, just all areas of your life for sure.
I mean, battle is one with the details. Like I compete in jiu-jitsu, and when you go to do a movement, something being slightly off can be the difference between actually executing the movement and not. So when you're talking about getting a cross collar like a gi choke, where you're going to grab a hold of someone's collar and actually pull that down and use their uniform essentially to tap them out, if you don't get your hand high enough, then you're not going to get the choke. If you don't get the right fingers in, controlling with the bottom three and using the top to run the lapel, you're not going to land the choke. And so you could actually end up ultimately completely gassing yourself, pulling at this choke, thinking like, I've got it. And in the end, you become so taxed that you basically have to give up or let that movement go. And it's because you didn't execute the fine details. You didn't go for that extra inch that you needed to move up. You were too lazy to get a hold of it with the right fingers. And so when you're talking about combating something, being disciplined enough to actually put forth the effort will actually save you work in the back end.
Yes.
And being able to do it up front kind of guarantees that success. But I find that so many people procrastinate. And Andy Frisella was talking recently in a podcast about what anxiety is. And he said all anxiety is a warning in your mind that you're not getting something done that you're supposed to be getting done. Like you're supposed to be doing something, accomplishing something, or getting to something that you're not currently doing. Now, I'll expand on that. He didn't say this, but sometimes it's something that you can't do. Like maybe you can't even do it in that moment. Like it's something that you know will come up or has to be done, and you're anxious about it, and it can't be done at this moment. Well, obviously you need to let that go. It doesn't mean that you don't think about how you're going to handle it, but looping on that's not going to do anything for you. But you want to be able to create a situation where you don't live in anxiety of not accomplishing something. You need to set out a plan of attack, get the details right, and then just go after it.
Especially evaluating different scenarios is very important, I think, when it comes to anxiety and when it comes to just having a quality battle plan for life and attacking things like a warrior. When you have evaluated all possible scenarios, and I'm even talking like in the most basic form, like, okay, if I take this road, if I take that road, if I take that road, I can get this accomplished, that accomplished, that accomplished. If you were in battle, if you were in the military, you would sit down and you would think of everything that could possibly go wrong and create an A, B, C, D scenario to what do we do when this happens. If we're not paying attention to those details and we're really not pouring into situations and really working on the small things, evaluating all possibilities and really making sure we're covering all of our bases, then we very likely will feel anxiety because we're going into a situation unprepared. Very commonly happens with food. People don't take the time on the weekend. They don't go to the grocery store. They don't get the food made. And now they're starting their week. They know they want to be healthy. They know the bad food makes them feel bad and tired, and they're not going to have a good week if they don't eat it, but they didn't do anything over the weekend to plan for it. Great. You messed up. You didn't plan for it. Now what's plan B? Plan B is I'm going through this drive-through. I'm going to Walgreens. I'm going to Dierberg's. I'm having this delivered. You still have the option to eat healthy. You just have to go with plan B. And it may not be as good as plan A, but you got to go to plan B. So you got to evaluate all the circumstances, paying attention to all those details. These are the types of things that we coach you in our 6-month nutrition program. For more information on that or a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods from My Personal Bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. We just kind of got done talking to you about what it means to be a warrior, and I want to continue into that. Debbie was talking a little bit at the end about just being disciplined and being in line, and I want to talk about accountability, and that is something that we as a company really, really do for people. I tell my clients pretty regularly, I'm like, listen, all of my workouts you are capable of finding, designing, or getting close to off Google. I mean, I didn't invent the movements. I didn't invent supersetting. I didn't invent time under tension. Everything I do can be found. Now, I am going to watch your form. I am going to hold you accountable there. I'm going to make sure you're doing it right and you're not getting injured. And I will compound things to put together to make sure that we are overcoming injuries and preventing future ones. But the main reason my job exists from a personal training perspective and Deb's job exists from a nutrition perspective is accountability. It's to create a scenario where you have someone beyond yourself to answer to. And what's interesting is as a society, we actually do better under that pressure. Now, sometimes you can let that crush you. Sometimes you can put yourself into a state of fear, or as we talked about in the last segment, a state of anxiety. But you should use that to actually propel you into doing what to do to get to where you want to go. Because a lot of times there's discomfort in leaving your comfort zone, and we become so comfortable in our discomfort of that zone that we'd rather sit and suffer than go through any kind of suffering to get to the next place that we can actually find comfort. So our job is to get you uncomfortable, and that makes us the bad guy sometimes. Sometimes it's like, oh, you hear this all the time, like Debbie's tough. Her nutrition program's tough. Well, of course it's tough. You're not doing it. If you were doing it, you wouldn't have to pay her to tell you what to do. So she's not going to tell you what you want to hear. That would be a waste of your money, and it would actually be theft. She'd be stealing from you just by, you know what, just keep doing what you're doing. You're going to make a change. That's not how that works. So the number one thing is we like to think of ourselves as coaches, as accountability partners, and Debbie did a post here recently where she talked about the difference between a standard and what that does for you in accountability. And she says that, when you have a standard, that's actually going to design that's going to be what helps you to get to the next place that you're supposed to be going. Obviously she's got a job of telling you what is out of balance with your food. She's got a job of telling you when to eat, what to eat, timing, what vitamins and minerals to bring in, but she's also going to try to help create standards in you. And Deb, you talked a little bit about some of the standards that you feel lead to success. and what you feel you should follow. So talk a little bit about that, like things that you instill in your clients to help create those types of standards.
Well, I listened to a good message where someone compared goals to standards.
Yes.
And the way that they approached goals, which I actually really liked, because I kind of had gotten to a point after 25 years that I cared for goals less and less and less, which I always want people to have goals. But the problem for me is that I'm super excited for you if you achieve a goal, but if you have not created a pattern of habits to maintain that goal, what was the point? And it's actually even really, really challenging for your health if you are seesawing back and forth, back and forth, right? And so the goal promotes a new energy in the body, right? And so that goal is like, it's like hope. It's like, oh, okay, there's hope for change, right? Because I have a goal to do this now. There's even hope in my team when we present a goal, because it's like, okay, if we all accomplish this together as a team, awesome. But we also really need to create a quality standard of living healthy, because without that standard, you're never going to maintain the goals that you accomplish. And so I guess my job is really to, number one, teach science and really help people to understand the ins and outs of nutrition. But the second job is to teach someone to be accountable to themselves. So yes, I would love for you to be accountable to me. I mean, you're paying me. I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm definitely going to make sure you're doing your job. But what I'm actually doing is holding you accountable to you.
Right.
You know, it's not my fault if you don't do your food. If you make the decision to not do your food, we have to look back and say, where was the break? You know, what didn't you prepare? What didn't you buy? Where did the details go wrong? You know, and I'm there to hold you accountable for that action. Let's correct it and let's go off in a different direction.
What's interesting about that is, you know, you'll get where you have clients actually come sit in your office and they will tell you they've eaten what they're supposed to eat. They haven't cheated on their food. They haven't had anything they're not supposed to have. And then they'll go tell their personal trainer, I mean, even their personal trainer, who it's like they think they're not going to come back to you, or friends. And then the friends show up, family members show up, and they tell you, I know she said that she didn't do that, but she's eaten pizza every day for the last 5 days. And so what's interesting about that is they're afraid of the accountability to you. And so they're willing to cheat on their accountability to you and cheat on their program and plan. But what they're not acknowledging is they're actually not cheating on you. They're cheating on them.
Right.
They're cheating on themselves.
Right.
They're cheating on their health. It's them that's getting shorted. Like they're so afraid of whatever it is, the disappointment in you, the humility of messing up, doing something wrong, whatever it may be, that they're willing to lie to cover that up, but they're only lying to themselves. They're like making it acceptable for them so they can get to the end of a 6-month program and not have actually learned the accountability to themselves and maybe not even obtain their result or goal they're looking for because they're not willing to be self-accountable.
I mean, I think good quality standards, you know, when you say, you know, what standards should a person follow? You know, I like to read the Bible. I like to think of that as my way of setting standards for my life. But I mean, I think quality standards are showing up on time. I think quality standards are always showing up, not making excuses for why you can't do things, showing up when you don't even feel like it. If you don't feel good or you're not in the mood for it or you just don't feel like you have the time or you just simply don't want to do it, show up anyways, do it anyways. Right. I think that those are really good quality standards. I think helping others and putting others first is a good quality standard. A lot of times when you're putting the emphasis on other people, you're not so focused on yourself all the time. You're not going to be so absorbed in why am I not eating this? Why am I not eating that? Food becomes a fuel source for you when your entire focus isn't on yourself and pleasing your flesh. So there are a lot of really good quality standards that you could set, and then it puts you in motion for a healthy lifestyle, and it really can be life-changing for you. And really, truly, my job is just to design a formula where you can see that in yourself and you can have the confidence to believe that you can actually accomplish those things and to really set some habits in place with you and coach you and hold you accountable for that. For more information on what we do with a 6-month nutrition program at Integrity Training Systems, or to schedule a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, take a look at Integrity Training Systems or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods, from my personal bakery to yours, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. I want to continue to talk a little bit about what we were in the last segment, and that's goals and standards. And Debbie was talking about how she had kind of hit a point where she kind of got tired of the goal chasing and what she does, because inevitably what happens if someone is only looking at a goal, a lot of times, once the goal has happened, they don't continue with what they did to achieve that goal. You know, you'll see people lose 100 pounds and then they gain it back, and sometimes they gain excess. It's 120 pounds they gain back. You'll see people do, I like to make a comparison. You know, you talk about the difference between a goal and a standard, and in your post, you said something about the goal creates the energy, but the standard is, let me see here, I want to quote it right. The standard makes the goal possible. And what I like about that is, just to give a couple examples here, we work with some bodybuilders. It's not our primary thing that we do, but we do have some. And one of our personal trainers is a multi-time world champion bodybuilder. And so she works with other bodybuilders. Debbie does their nutrition. Debbie has trained this world champion. And it's always fascinating to me that other bodybuilders will come in, these females, and they'll work with Misty and they'll work with Debbie, and they'll get in great shape. Phenomenal shape for the stage. They'll look shredded, they'll look chiseled, they'll look lean, they'll look fantastic. They'll do the show, they'll place wherever they place, and then they go into a quote-unquote off season. Well, that lacks a standard, because they've achieved the goal and now they go off of what they were doing to get to the goal. So they might spend 8, 12, 16 weeks in a quote-unquote off season before deciding ultimately to take on another goal of their next show. They train for their next show. They work really hard. They kill themselves, plain chicken, green beans, like they just kill themselves. They get on stage and they look the same as the last time they were on stage. They're not sharper, they're not harder, they have the same presentation. And they always tell Misty, like, I just don't understand. It's like every time you get on stage, you look better. It's like you do better each time. Like, what is that? Well, the difference is that Debbie has worked with Misty, and Misty has become a person who has standards. So what she does is she lives 12 months out of the year with the standard of being healthy, well, and fit. And then she sets a goal of a show, but that goal is just a timeline to continue with the standards that she already has in place to achieve the next tier of what she's going to do. So there is no off season. The standard creates a scenario where there's never an off season. And you have to get to a place where you do it because it is the standard, the discipline. One more example before I pass this on to Deb is I do training from a militaristic, combative situation where I gear up. I'm wearing knives, ammo, bulletproof vests, and I also wear weights that make it even heavier. It's 50 to 60 pounds of gear right now. And I'm flipping 300-pound tires, and I'm walking with them and running sledgehammers and sprinting up and down behind our building and doing all of this training. And so I have a goal right now that I'm shooting for of a certain fitness level I want to be, a certain weight that I'm kind of shooting for. And the other day I was training with a partner of mine, and I actually got myself pretty lightheaded and pretty sick, and I started dry heaving. And I was dry heaving behind this bush. I walked behind the bush so the MasterCard people couldn't see me because it kind of makes me not look as tough, you know, that I'm dry heaving. And so my buddy is like, you good? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. You know, and so he's like, man, He's like, I'm kind of jealous that you actually pushed yourself to that, and I didn't do that today. But the point of the story is I had one jog left when this started happening. Like, I had to jog down behind our building to the trash can and back up. And I'm sitting there, and I sit up, and I'm pale as can be. I'm sweating. I'm actually cold, and it was 95 degrees outside. I had thermals on to make myself sweat more. And my buddy is looking at me, and I can tell he's looking at me like, you doing this jog? You know, like, is that it? You going down? Well, my motivation was to not do it. The goal of what I'm trying to achieve fitness-wise, I had already passed what I needed to do. But the discipline and the standard was, I have to finish this. I have to finish what I've set out to do. And it's a jog. And I'm going to tell you, it was ugly. I mean, I might have jogged more left and right than down and back. I mean, I was stumbling, I was coming down, and I came back and I finished. And what's important about that is I didn't let my standard slip so that I can continue to press on for any goals that I set. So I tell people, your standard is what allows you to finish the race, okay? The goal is both short-term and long-term. Have something in mind that ends with doing a show, running a race, accomplishing a Tough Mudder, losing 100 pounds, but have a long-term goal of remaining healthy for the duration of your life, and have a standard of never giving up and always having integrity in everything you do, so that even when you're without a goal, you're still accomplishing health.
It actually even goes back to what we said in the first segment, when you go back into the little details and auditing your every action and paying attention to the little details, because you didn't let yourself down that day. And although everyone might have voted that of all the days you probably could
everybody
have not
would
made
have
the
said
run,
it was okay.
or everyone might have even said, don't make the run.
That's right.
But the thing is that when we do allow ourselves kind of an out on some of those circumstances, what happens is our confidence starts to get a little bit breached, because we are giving ourselves an out. When we didn't prepare our food and we go ahead and have the off meal just because, I didn't do it, when we could have drove 2 more miles to a different restaurant and got something a little bit healthier, we are starting to break that confidence level a little bit here and a little bit there, because we're not paying attention to the details. And so we're letting ourselves down, basically.
Yes.
And so, yes, when it comes to those standards, the standards that I said I typically like to keep are being on time, always showing up. Quitting is never an option. Give your best in everything that you do. Believe in yourself. So you must have confidence. That's actually a standard. Support and encourage others daily. Commit to quality work always. If you're going to do a job, do it literally to the highest quality possible. Don't expect a free ride. Get up and work for whatever it is that you want. Hear from God as you take all the next steps in your life, and learn from your mistakes. Set your goals high. If you're going to have goals, if you're truly going to have goals, set them high. I mean, really, if I vocalize the types of goals that I have, genuinely, people would think I was crazy. Mm-hmm. I mean, they would think I was absurd if I actually talked to you right now about the type of goals that I have. And there's just very few people that know anything about it, and they don't actually need to know anything about it, because I know where I'm heading. But I also know what it takes to get there. And so everything matters. Each workout, setting myself up for success the night before I go to bed for the very next day, knowing what I'm wearing, knowing what my daughter's wearing, knowing what we're eating. All of those little details are what bleed into a very successful day. And when it comes to doing nutrition, and all the years of doing nutrition, almost 25 years of working with people on their nutrition, when I see people succeed, it's when they turn a corner and they start caring about the details. They stop letting themselves down, and they start holding themselves accountable to themselves. I mean, not just to me. They're accountable to themselves, not just to me. They care about not letting themselves down, and they don't need support from their family, and they don't need support from their friends. In fact, they don't even care if anybody supports them, because they care about being healthy and being well. And when a person stops caring about, I don't know if I should go to that dinner and not eat what everybody else is eating. I can't go on that vacation and tell those people that I won't eat their food. Okay, you'll never get there then. You will literally never be healthy if that's your mindset. It will never happen because you have to decide who you are, what you stand for, what matters most to you. And I'm just telling you right now that if you really hang on to what's important and you evaluate what your needs are to remain healthy, and you go into a dinner, you go into a vacation, and you set yourself up like, I have to eat this way, I'm going to order that way, it's nobody else's business but mine, I don't have to put it on anybody else, I'll have groceries delivered, I'll know what to order, I'll know where I can go and what I can do. Someone in that group somewhere is going to look at you and you're going to shine so brightly to them. You will be a seed that needed to be planted in them. You will look like the most disciplined person in the room because you don't care what everybody else is doing. So instead of caring what everybody else is doing on the vacation or doing, at the dinner or wherever you're going, you have set yourself apart from that and decided that you're going to stay committed to what matters. You can't let the waves that ebb and flow of life and all the circumstances that come in through life, the good times, the bad times, the hard times, you cannot let those things be the reason why you can't stay committed to being healthy. That food is your fuel. That food is what is going to equip you for greatness. Without that food and without that exercise, you will always live a mediocre life. You will always live a mediocre life. Your brain will never be at an exceptional high level. You will always be wanting to level up and you will never be able to figure out how or why. And if you're an athlete, you will always be wanting more and never being able to find it within you because your body is not equipped to give you more. Once you change the food, everything changes. Now, change your exercise, get that lined up too, but when you change the food, it changes everything. So see how those standards really matter? They end up falling into every part of your life, even relationships. John and I have really high standards. We met with a lady yesterday that she was like, my daughter said she went out to dinner with you, and she said that you guys have only spent 3 days apart in 11 years of being together. And we were like, yes. And 2 of them, John was in the hospital. So
in a psych ward, she couldn't come.
Right, I couldn't stay with him. If I could have stayed with him, I would have stayed with him.
Yeah, instead I was staying with someone that was talking to 3 other people in the corner that weren't there. So.
And so she remembered that about us. Yeah. And that's just a standard that we have for our marriage. John is literally like my personal, private protector. He is my warrior at life. I mean, he doesn't want me to be alone in a place. He wants to know that I'm okay. And he doesn't want to think about me staying all by myself somewhere. We take care of each other. We have standards for our relationship. When you start discounting those standards in your relationship, you'll start to notice you'll level down in your relationships. And you'll actually start questioning how much someone cares about you because you're not giving what you were willing to give before, right? Well, we've not done that. We've never dumbed down our standards, and our relationship has stayed really strong because of it. Very strong. There's no question how John feels about me. We go to bed at night, and I swear I feel like he's suffocating me. He's squeezing me so tight, and I actually like it.
I'm a snuggler.
Because he's a snuggler,
Until I put out like 500 degrees of heat.
But it doesn't go away. It doesn't end. It hasn't gone, we are just as strong as we were in the beginning. We set those standards, and we work to those standards. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems for a 6-month nutrition program or for a one-on-one free personal fitness assessment with our personal trainers, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from My Healthy Bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. We've been talking a lot today about standards, goals being accomplished through standards. And Deb was mentioning at the end of last segment a lot about going out to eat and basically letting someone else dictate what you consume. This is something that we deal with a lot. Like, well, you don't understand. I'm going on vacation with my family and they're going to have this expectation that I eat X. I'm going out to eat with the guys from work and they're going to make fun of me if I eat clean. I'm going to be going here and I just don't really think it's going to be a good idea for me to eat that way. Or my parents have this expectation of this. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. Okay. You have to remember what your why is. Okay. And this transcends food, but hang with me for a minute on food here. Whatever your why is, you need to lose 100 pounds. You have diabetes that you're trying to overcome. You have a heart issue that you need to get through. You're trying to get rid of SIBO or some kind of issue that's in your gut. When you talk about eating clean and you talk about the why, you really want to consider if the why not is actually stronger than the why. And a lot of times the why not comes down to not wanting to disappoint, displease, or have somebody else potentially look down on you. Now, I want to talk about two things here. One, anxiety and fear have a very, very thin line that separates them. Anxiety, like I talked about earlier in the segments, is knowing you need to accomplish something, knowing you need to get something done and not doing it. Anxiety can also be defined as being afraid. Now, fear, being afraid of something, the John Dictionary version of this, I don't know what it says in Webster, but the John Dictionary version of fear is a belief in something that has not, is not, and may not ever come to pass. So you're thinking about dwelling on and potentially looping on something that has not, may not, and usually will not come to pass. So if you're making decisions on something that's not even there or looping on something that's not even there, is that why stronger than the why you should be doing what you're doing? You might go and order that in front of these people and then be like, they may not even notice it. So what are you hung up on? Let's say they do notice it. Can you make a difference in their life? That's another strong why. That's a reason to do what you're doing. Now let's go with option number 3. They make fun of you for it. They're actually vile about it. They don't understand. Anybody who's going to give you a hard time about something that you're doing that is bettering you is not someone that really cared about you from the get-go.
Right. And
so if they're going to give you a hard time about something that you need to be doing, you're sitting there with diabetes trying to get rid of it. You're trying to get off of insulin. And they're like, you can't just have 6 corn chips? No, I can't. And if they're going to give you a hard time about that, they never really respected you in the first place.
I also feel like to some extent it's a lack of confidence in your why. Like you really haven't rooted yourself in your belief system.
Right.
If you really truly feel that way. I can't go on vacation and tell them I can't eat their food. I can't go to this dinner and tell them I can't eat their food. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is you haven't built the confidence in the situation. Like our situation with our family, I mean, we know what we can do and we know what we can't do. I mean, if we go on vacation with someone, before I can even tell you that we can go on vacation with someone, I'm going to have to set up a scenario where they understand this is how we will have to eat.
Right.
Should we get our own house? Should we have our own kitchen? Should we have all the groceries delivered? If you're having groceries, can I have my own set of groceries delivered?
Yeah.
Or we don't get to go on the vacation because we have health issues that determine that.
Right.
But my confidence is I know what we need to be doing.
Right.
And so I'm going to stay strict on that. No matter what the dinner is, no matter what the situation is, there's definitely been times where I did not want to turn something back in with a waiter. There's definitely been times where I just didn't want to have to present that and say, I'm really sorry, you still put cheese on this. My daughter really cannot eat that. She's not going to feel good. And I'm just not, I can't open her up to that. I'm confident in what it takes to keep my daughter healthy. I'm confident in what it takes to keep me healthy, what it takes to keep my husband healthy. So I'm gonna have the stick-to-itiveness to stay on track because I have confidence in the role and the standards that I've set for myself. I truly feel when people are willing to shrink back in those situations, it's because they are lacking in confidence and they have not owned that goal or that standard for themselves.
Well, what you're doing is you're sitting there afraid that your waiter might actually be mad or feel bad, or you can mess with someone's feelings, or maybe the chef's going to be angry, or let's just get completely ridiculous here. Maybe they'll drop your food on the floor and kick it around because you sent it back. Like, guys, you're fearing something that's not going to happen. And if the waiter seems irritated, they're probably irritated themselves that they forgot.
Sure.
At the end of the day, you have to weigh like what discomfort do you want to deal with? The 30 seconds of telling a waiter, like, I'm really sorry I can't have this, or the next 72 hours of feeling like garbage because you ate something you knew you weren't supposed to eat. Like, weigh the why, and if your confidence is lacking so much that you aren't willing to send the food back, that you aren't willing to ask for the concessions on what you need to have removed, then you don't even need to be there.
Right.
You need to remove yourself from the equation. Like, if you put a package of Oreos in front of me and you leave them there long enough, it takes a long time, like 43 seconds or so. I'm going to eat the whole thing of Oreos. Okay. So, like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to let you set a bag of Oreos in front of me. Right. Like, I'm not going to put myself in that position. Right. And so, your friends and family, if you tell them, hey, I can't go there, but I can come here, or why don't you come to my house and I'll cook? If they don't understand, explain it. Right. Like, hey, I'm really sorry. Like, you have to have the confidence and the humility to tell someone why you're doing what you're doing, because at the end of the day, God has a call and purpose on your life. And if what you're doing isn't serving that, if what you're doing is just like serving someone else out of fear, or serving someone else out of something that may not even come to pass that they may not care about, you're not accomplishing anything. Like, your life will go nowhere. You have to learn to become uncomfortable in the little comfort pocket you've put yourself in. Nothing comes from just sitting still.
And here comes your time to become a warrior, right? This is where you do get to bring that warrior quality in. Well, my husband, he just is always bringing bad food home. Our entire pantry is full of bad food. Until he gets his food right, I'm never going to be able to get myself right. Wow, really? I mean, is that how you want to fall? Is that the sword you're going to land on? Is that you were not able to ever achieve a level of health in your life because your husband didn't? Well, the thing is if you really just step up to the plate and you dive in and you say, I won't shrink back no matter what the circumstances, he actually might, because at some point he's going to realize you're actually really healthy and really happy, and he's not. And he may want what you have one day.
Another one is your kids. Well, I can't eat healthy because my kids won't. You should eat healthy because your kids won't.
Yes.
You need to train your kids on how to do it. Well, I understand that, but I let them have hot dogs. I let them have fruit snacks, and now that's what they want. I'm telling you right now, you let them go long enough without hot dogs and fruit snacks, it'll change.
Yes.
Feed them what they need to feed. But here's the problem. There will be conflict, and you will have to resolve it. But people are so afraid of those conflicts, so afraid of what people think, even their own children, that they're not willing to engage in that. And here's the one thing I want you to consider. Well, they're not going to change it now. Think about where you are at this moment. You feel like crap. You want to lose weight. You don't get any rest. Your body's falling apart on you. Not changing your food because your kids won't means that 30 years from now, they're going to be sitting exactly where you are. Don't you want your kids to have a better life than you?
Yes.
It's going to require you to have some discomfort to create the comfort for them. I would love to tell Sophie that every weekend we could go out for ice cream. I would love to tell Sophie that we can have a pizza night once a month. That does not make sense. Of course, there's attachments to food. I grew up attaching emotion and good times to food. But I have to break that cycle because my daughter has a condition, and even if she doesn't, she deserves to be as happy and as healthy as possible. There is a video of JFK that if he said this today, he would be crucified from the pulpit up in front of everybody. It was like a presidential conversation where he says there is nothing, in his opinion, worse than a soft, chubby child in America. Because they deserve the ability. Now, it would stop there. That's where he would be cut off. But he continues by saying they deserve to have an adventurous and fruitful life. That's why. He's not fat shaming. What he's doing is saying your child deserves your attention to their health so that they can go forth and actually experience life.
We really challenge you to make it a priority for yourself today, to make it a priority for your family. It will change everything. Every area of your life will change when you put the attention to detail when it comes to your food and when it comes to your exercise and your health. For more information on what we do with the 6-month nutrition program at Integrity, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods from My Healthy Bakery to you, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless you.